My friend Frank was picking me up for a 4-day hunting trip, so I said goodbye to my wife. Frank packed his truck with all his hunting gear. Preparation was essential for success. He uncovered the truck bed and opened a drawer behind the cab. "Put your rifle here," he said, pointing to the box. I placed my rifle and gear inside. I got into the cab and glanced back at the house. The door was closed. Frank drove to an old family cabin now managed by his Uncle Bob, who couldn't get around anymore, so Frank took care of it. "He's made major improvements," Frank said, "like better insulation and a more efficient wood stove, so we won't need parkas all the time." "This season, he added a satellite dish for TV and internet," Frank continued. "There's no reliable cell coverage, but you can use WhatsApp over Wi-Fi if you want to call Maeve." "She doesn't expect a lot of contact," I replied, "and I like being out of touch, so I won't mention the internet." We watched SportsCenter during dinner. Later, I read a John Sanford novel while Frank used his laptop. We were sipping our second beers of the evening. We weren't just out for a drunken boys' trip. We wanted to test ourselves against nature and hopefully get some venison. "Oh, crap!" Frank suddenly exclaimed. I closed my book, looking at him. Frank's eyes were glued to the screen as he scrolled. "Holy double crap," he said, then looked at me with doubt on his face. I bookmarked my page. "What's up, Frank? Was he reading the news? Did something happen to Maeve?" His voice dropped. "Oh, crap. You need to see this." He turned the laptop toward me. I got up, crossed the room, and sat down. I expected a terrible headline, but it wasn't a news site. It was a social network. On the screen was a picture of Maeve smiling. I always thought her smile looked evil. I looked at Frank. "What the hell is this?" "Sorry, Matt, it's a dating site," he replied helplessly. "A dating site?" I couldn't believe it. After Tracy and I broke up, I was in a bad place. For months, I did nothing. Eventually, I started using Tinder and other sites to meet women. I stared at him. "Some of these sites skip dating and go straight to hookups." Frank lightened up. "I did get lucky a few times, but there are wives on there too." "Wives?" "Yes, some wives and many husbands looking for fun on the side." I looked back at the screen. Another picture of my wife appeared. My gut clenched. Look, Matt, I've seen a lot of fake profiles. They use women's names and images without their knowledge. Maeve might be a sufferer. I've never seen her on these sites before." I hoped that was true as I examined the profile. The photos were definitely of Maeve. Had they been hacked? One detail stabbed me in the heart, the outfit in one photo. I bought it for her last Christmas. The picture was less than a year old, and I didn't take it. I started reading, "Can you help me with my daddy issues? And I don't mean sugar daddy. I think my dad has always wanted to, you know. But he hasn't yet. I think about what it would be like. Sometimes I imagine my dad now, middle-aged, but still hot. Sometimes I picture him young. I even imagine a virile retired man. Daddy's girl would be happy to help. So if you're clean and fit the description, please send a photo. I'm alone for the long weekend and would love some engaging daddy-daughter time." Below the profile was a box reading, "Current status? Closing soon." I looked at Frank. "Daddy issues? What the hell?" "Maybe this is good," Frank said quickly, seeing my reaction. Some cheating wives aren't unhappy with their husbands. They just have fantasies they're uncomfortable sharing. And maybe it's about trying something new. Or they have daddy fantasies. Frank shrugged. I read further, feeling a lump in my throat. Frank said, "You found double crap." Double crap indeed. Dad's family is from Greece and Italy, so he has a classic Mediterranean look. Dark eyes, dark curly hair, a strong nose with a slight Roman hump. If that's you, I'm looking forward to a daddy-daughter date. If you're 6'feet tall with the build of a long-distance runner, it'll be a hot date. What? Frank responded. "I thought you knew, but clearly you didn't." Not a clue, man, not a clue. We were both confused. Maeve's father, Sean, is a pale-skinned Irishman with rust-brown hair. The description fit me, not him. Then I reached the triple crap. Under Maeve's profile was a box that said, "Join the chat room." I scrolled through the messages and saw one that struck me. "Hi, I've had a lot of free time this month. Do you have a place for me?" Maeve replied, "Oh yes, I can make room. Let me know when I can see you again." "Did you have a good time last month?" "Screw me," I said, stunned. "She's been doing this for a while." I looked at Frank. "Can you tell how long she's been on this site? Maybe she's doing it for money." I recoiled, half expecting to see Maeve on a live feed. Frank took the laptop and navigated the site. "As far as I know, it's just a dating site. It's not set up like she's running a business. It looks like she's doing this for fun." He continued, "She thought once would be enough." I growled, "If it really was only once, she's having a whole weekend while I'm away." "Whoa, Matt, it's a pop-up site for speed dating, not long-term relationships." "Make a date with her," I said. "What?" "Swipe right or whatever and see if she's available this weekend. I want to know if she's really having fun while I'm up here." "I could try," he said reluctantly, "but I don't fit the description. She wants to see a picture." It hit me. She wants a picture of me. I told Frank my idea to set her up using my picture. He thought it was a good idea. I reminded him it was too late. "I could still ruin her fun by writing in the chat room that I'm coming home with a rifle." Frank said it was best not to warn her. She said she's free Friday and Sunday, so she'll make a date for then. Frank and I had taken Friday and Monday off to maximize our hunting time, so I wasn't expected home until Monday afternoon. "If you text her now, she'll have time to get her lies together." His voice tinged with anger, and I remembered his wife, Tracy, had left him for her boss. "If we go now, you'll catch her in person with proof." He grinned as he looked at Maeve's profile. It was a little over 3 hours home. We discussed our options, preparing Mae for our arrival, following her to her dates, and catching her daddy. The most serious topic was the inevitable divorce. Frank's experience with divorce law was painful, but it would help me. 2 hours later, we were on our third repeat of plans, driving mostly in silence. We pulled onto my street around 10:45, Frank slowing down in front of my house. I told Frank, "Keep going." He glared but pressed the gas. "Turn the corner and stop," I commanded. He did, then looked at me again. "There's a car parked across from our house. I don't recognize it. No one parks on the street here at night. She's already started, and she's doing it in our house." I reached for the door. "Thanks, buddy. You can leave." "Screw it, man. We have a plan. We either check it out together or we leave and deal with it tomorrow." "No, I need to know now," I insisted. "Come on, Matt. If she's alone, it won't prove anything, and you'll still be messed up." "I need to know," I repeated. "Okay, plan B," he said, driving to the alley behind my house. Frank spoke forcefully. "Whether she's alone or not, we look around, then go to my place. My divorce taught me to think hard before reacting." He added, "Figuratively speaking," remembering my rifle in the truck. Of course, I thought. Frank parked, and we walked silently towards my house, staying in the shadows. I lifted the alley gate lever, hoping Maeve forgot to lock it after taking out the trash. She had. We slipped inside. Our bedroom was in the back corner of the house. We saw a faint light behind the curtains. Moving quietly to avoid the leaves, we reached the larger window. I tried to peek inside, but the curtain blocked the view. Frank shook his head. I moved closer and saw a gap in the curtain. Peeking through, I saw Maeve and an older man on the bed. I almost smashed the window but remembered my Leatherman tool. I reached for it but felt Frank's hand stopping me. He signaled for silence and pulled me away. I resisted but eventually fell back. Frank threw his hands up, walked to the gate, and I followed. We walked to his truck. I glanced at the lockbox under the vinyl upholstery, knowing it held rifles, a .357 Magnum, and bear spray. Frank ignored my plea and said, "We've been here too long." He started the engine and drove out of the alley. He pulled into an empty grocery store parking lot a few blocks away. The store had closed and only employees' cars were there. "Why don't I go in there and kick some rear?" I asked, needing Frank's logical voice again. "Because you'd end up in jail," he said. "It's not his fault. Maeve invited him. He probably doesn't even know she's married." "I need to proceed cold and cautiously if I want to get out of this marriage to my best advantage," I repeated, echoing Frank's advice. Back at Frank's apartment, he locked all the weapons and bear spray in his weapon cabinet, forbidding me from touching them while I was still in shock. We sat at the kitchen counter and Frank poured us tequila shots, silently toasting to the messed up world. We followed with Pacifico beers. "She's cheating on you with you," Frank said, pondering the situation. "Maybe she's trying to rekindle the spark from when you first met. I wasn't 55 then, and our bed hasn't gone cold. Maybe she loves you and only wants more of you. Maybe daddy is how she explains it." I shook my head, dismissing the idea. Frank continued, suggesting opening up the relationship to control the situation. I gave him a look that said, "Not happening," and asked for another pour. We overslept Friday morning but resumed our plans. Frank drove me to a car rental agency where I got an unassuming sedan. Then I went to a bank Maeve and I didn't use and opened a checking account with money from our trip. I transferred half of our savings and 20% of our checking to the new account. The banker, Jim, reminded me to leave enough money in our joint account for mortgage, car loans, and credit card payments to protect my credit. He helped me set up the bank's app on my phone. Next, I went to a T-Mobile store and bought a dual SIM phone with a top-of-the-line camera. I didn't change our family account to avoid alerting Maeve. Frank convinced me to use our time until Monday to my advantage, despite wanting to confront her immediately. "Sir, is everything okay?" I blinked and realized I was still at the T-Mobile table. The employee was explaining how to switch between SIM cards, and I had been lost in dark thoughts. "Sorry," I said. "I banged my knee yesterday and it's causing sharp pain." "Oh, that doesn't sound good," she said skeptically. "I hope you feel better soon." She continued her explanation and I left the store, limping. Frank and I met at Starbucks and discussed the next phase of our plan over coffee. We then headed back to my neighborhood. We left Frank's noticeable truck in the same supermarket lot as last night, now filled with cars. Frank drove us in my rental to my house. This time my car was in the garage, but Maeve's car and the red Hyundai Accent were gone. We reached the alley and I jumped out and entered through the back gate, which Maeve still hadn't locked. I thought about reminding her to lock it, but then I realized I was lucky she didn't. Entering through the front door might alert neighbors, so I stuck to the plan. Frank took up his position in the supermarket parking lot. We usually got home via Tompkins Parkway and 3rd Street, keeping an eye on the house. I felt a bit paranoid since Maeve was supposed to be at work, but caution was key. I unlocked the back door and entered the utility room. Using a pole, I lowered the attic ladder. As I poked my head through the hatch, the walkie-talkie on my belt beeped twice. Frank signaled that he was in position. He would beep every 10 minutes as a countdown. I jammed the transmit button briefly to confirm our connection. Attic was too generous a term for the cramped storage space under the eaves. I had to crouch to move around. Luckily, the luggage I needed was just a few feet from the trapdoor. I grabbed a canvas gear bag and an old backpack-style briefcase. I avoided taking my preferred bags from downstairs to leave as little trace as possible. I closed up the attic, checking for any prints or marks. Next, I went to the alcove in the living room we used as a home office. I took my passport, social security card, will, birth certificate, and marriage license from the small safe, placing them in the briefcase. There was also $2,000 in cash. I took half. The safe also held gold coins worth about $5,000, but I only took the purchase receipt to avoid raising suspicion. Frank's double beep signaled I'd been inside for 10 minutes. I moved to the bedroom and grabbed black slacks, 2 dress shirts, 2 ties, dress socks, and black loafers, just enough for Maeve not to notice. The hard part was setting up surveillance. At Starbucks, Frank and I had figured out the new phone's time-lapse function. We didn't need sound. Visuals were enough. I hid the phone on a cabinet, peering between my hats, ensuring it captured 80% of the bed. I also adjusted the curtains for better peeking next time, despite Frank's advice against it. Another 10-minute warning from Frank came just as I finished. I moved to the living room. We had taken a trail camera from the cabin. I mounted it on a tall bookshelf to cover the sitting area. It had a motion sensor, a charged battery, and an empty SD card for the 3-day weekend. The bedroom phone would upload photos to my cloud every 6 hours. I left the house with 2 minutes to spare and received Frank's last signal. I joined him in the parking lot, keeping an eye on the corner of 3rd Street and Tompkins Parkway. Next, we went through the KFC drive-thru and sat at Frank's table with food and papers scattered around. We each had notebooks with to-do lists, resembling a hostile takeover planning session. I wasn't hungry, but nibbled on chicken tenders and fries. More interested in the Jack Daniels Frank added to my cola. "Okay, you should text her," Frank said. "Gotta keep things normal." Maeve knew the cell signal in the mountains was bad, and relied on it to avoid awkward calls from me. Our standard practice was to send a text just in case. I found a signal while hiking and managed to send the message. I stared at the screen. "What do I say?" "Give me that," Frank said, taking the phone. "Just say what you always do." He scrolled through our past texts. "Here we go, the usual." He read aloud as he typed, "Hey babe, we got here without any problems. The weather seems good. We'll be out on the trail early in the morning. I'll text again later. XOXO Matt." He hit send and then started dialing another number. "Next call is to the lawyer. Frank said Kelly DeWitt had helped him in his divorce and would be good for me too. He introduced me to her, then handed me the phone. "Hello?" "Matt," a pleasant voice said. "Frank didn't tell me your last name." "Karras, but call me Matt," I said. "Okay, Matt." "I understand this happened unexpectedly and pretty ugly," she said. "Yeah, pretty damn ugly. Excuse my language," I replied. She laughed. "Don't worry. If you can't vent to your lawyer, who can you vent to?" she said. I relaxed a bit. So, are you my lawyer? Do I need one? I asked. Let's start with the second question. This is about infidelity, right? Are you willing to forgive it and try counseling? She inquired. Hell no, I responded. Good. Are you willing to use the court's online system to file on your own? She asked. That's for no-fault cases, right? I can't file for infidelity there, I replied. Correct. If you want infidelity to affect alimony and such, you need an attorney, she explained. Can you represent me? Frank says you did right by him, I said. Did he tell you the cost? She asked. He did, I confirmed. Our prices have gone up a bit, but I'll charge you the same as Frank. Sound fair? She proposed. Yes. When can we meet? I asked. I can fit you in Monday morning, she offered. I covered the phone and whispered to Frank. She wants to start right away because the case is interesting. He grinned. I told you. Miss DeWitt, that works for me. Should I bring my proof? I asked. Do you already have proof? I take it you just discovered the deception? She queried. Yes, we took screenshots of her profile and saw her with a guy last night. I also installed a camera in my bedroom to catch any other activity over the weekend, I explained. So she advertised online for partners. Interesting, she noted. And she was looking for guys who look like me, I added. Just to clarify, haven't you gained a lot of weight since you got married? She asked. No, I replied. I'm 6 feet tall and 180 pounds, 5 pounds heavier than when we married. I lift weights and run regularly. Good to know. We'll talk more on Monday, she said. Good. That's good to hear. Okay, Matt. After we hang up, I'll open a secure data transfer site and send you the login code. Frank knows the portal address. Send me any evidence you have, and I'll review it before our meeting at 11 o'clock on Monday, she instructed. 11 o'clock Monday? Yes, I'll see you then, I confirmed. And Matt? She added. Yes, I responded. Avoid your wife until we meet. Don't return home. I only practice family law, not criminal law, she advised. Okay, I paused. Okay. After getting the secure code from the lawyer and sending her screenshots of Maeve's profile, Frank checked my phone. My wife responded quickly. Miss you, but hope you're having fun. Happy hunting. Love you, Maeve. Frank typed a message to Maeve saying we hadn't gotten a deer yet and were about to crash for the night. He then put the phone in his safe, explaining it would act like a Faraday cage. I'll press send, but the signal will be blocked. Then I'll turn off the power. When you turn it back on later, it'll look like the message was delayed by a bad signal. You read too many spy novels, I said, but I was grateful. Frank then shared his divorce experience, detailing how he had to cover the mortgage and pay spousal support for his ex-wife, even though she was still seeing another man. I hoped Maeve's infidelity would spare me from such a fate. We applied Frank's knowledge. I closed investment accounts and changed the passwords for all of Maeve's lodgings. I updated contact info on all accounts to my new phone and email. I canceled joint credit cards, except for the one Maeve used for daily expenses, which I lowered the limit on. As the 6-hour mark approached, it was time to check the first data dump to my cloud account. I nearly lost my KFC when I saw my wife's activities. I had programmed the phone to take 6 pictures every 30 seconds, every 15 minutes. The first set showed an empty bed, now made with different pillowcases. Out of 11 picture sets, 6 were blank, and 5 showed her with 2 other lovers. I need to get out of here, I moaned, swallowing bile. Yeah, Frank agreed. Come on, I'll buy you a drink. No, I need to be alone, I said. I don't think that's a good idea, Matt, Frank said. Damn it, Frank, I need to throw up. I need to cry. I need to be alone, I insisted. I understand, but getting caught driving drunk or getting into trouble won't help, Frank advised. I assured him I'd avoid bars and home. Just get on the highway and drive, he suggested. He reluctantly agreed and sent pictures of every daddy to Kelly DeWitt. Before I left, he reminded me to turn on my phone so Maeve would get my message and he could check on me. I thanked him and headed out, promising to stay away from booze. I drove 30 minutes north and back to let night fully set in. The supermarket was still open, so I parked and walked to my house, entering the alley behind it. The back gate was locked, but I climbed over the fence. I crossed the yard quietly and peered through the gap in the curtains. Maeve was now in bed with someone. As I moved toward the back door, my phone beeped with a message and then a call from Frank. I dismissed it and continued. Suddenly I heard, "I see you, idiot," from the darkness. It was Frank standing in the bed of his truck. "Get over here or I'll start honking," he warned. I crept to the fence, making more noise than I liked. I didn't want the neighbors calling emergency. "What the hell?" I hissed. "She's in there with some toy soldier. I'm going to teach him some manners," Frank declared. Get out of here or I'll call the police myself, I threatened. I climbed over the fence into his truck bed. We drove quietly away and stopped at a bar on Tompkins Parkway, 2 blocks from the supermarket. We sat in a back booth and Frank made me drink a shot of Jim Beam and take a long sip of Bud before letting me talk. I've had enough. She's turned my house into a strumpet house. I'll never sleep there again, but I'll be damned if I let this disrespect continue, I vented. Okay then, let's stop it, Frank said, catching me off guard. What? I asked. Give me your phone. He took it, went to my contacts, and called Maeve. He put it on speaker. After 5 rings, she picked up, gasping. Matt, why are you... what a nice surprise. You must really miss me, Maeve said. Hi, Maeve. It's Frank, Frank responded. Frank? Why are you calling? Is Matt okay? She asked, concerned. He's had a little accident. It's not too serious, but I might take him down the mountain tonight. Just wanted to let you know, Frank explained. Oh my God, what happened? Can I talk to him? Maeve asked, panicking. Calm down, it's not that bad. He fell and hit his head on a tree branch and is sleeping with an ice pack. If he acts weird, I'll take him to the hospital, Frank assured her. Do I need to come? She asked. No, like I said. Frank ran his thumb over the microphone and dropped the phone under the table. So there's no reason. Frank, I didn't hear that last part, Maeve said, confused. Frank stroked the microphone once more. Lie? 1 bar now, Morrow. Then he cut the call off. Okay, Frank said. We've stopped it. I laughed for the first time in 24 hours. After hanging up, I needed to know if the prank worked. Frank was sure Maeve would throw out the soldier and cancel her dates if she thought I was hurt. As we walked from the bar to my house, Frank mentioned that Maeve likely made her visitors park outside the supermarket to avoid suspicion. How considerate of her, I grinned. Shh, I think that's him, Frank said. Ahead, a man in an army uniform was walking toward us. Frank positioned himself between us. Good evening, Frank addressed the soldier, who grunted in response. Frank stopped and turned, making the soldier halt and face us. He looks like you when you were younger, Frank said to me. The soldier furrowed his eyebrows. Then his eyes widened as he looked between us. Young daddy, meet your real husband, Frank said. You like married women, don't you? I growled. Frank took a step in front of me. Down, boy, he said, clearly for the soldier to hear. Didn't you notice any pictures that looked like an older brother when you were at that married woman's house? Frank asked. Now I saw his anger. My buddy had been calm, but facing this situation, his own pain surfaced. She said she's divorced, the guy stammered. Not yet, but soon, I growled. Oh, crap. He started to run. I knew I could catch him, but Frank stepped in front of me. No, man, no. For the second time in 2 days, I almost pushed my best friend aside, but then I saw the misery on his face. I lost Tracy to a cheater. I don't want to lose you too. I relaxed, but still wanted to go after the soldier. You've already lost the main battle, kid. If you attack him, you'll win a small one, but lose the war. It'll just make you look like a fool and could land you in jail. I slumped. Maybe I'll punch him up later, I said. In 6 months, after we give you an alibi. Frank grinned. We sat in my rental car in the store parking lot. Maeve had kicked the soldier out, and Frank believed we had stopped her cheating. Frank was tired of my obsession, but agreed to give me an hour. We spent half at the bar, sipping beers, then returned to the car. A Nissan Sentra with out-of-state plates pulled in, and a guy got out. He read the street signs under the streetlight. He looked like me. A cousin, perhaps. He headed up 3rd Street, and I ran up 2nd, planning to circle back to my house. Frank followed him to prevent me from confronting him. I waited at the corner of Maple and 3rd. The guy checked the house number, then walked to our front door. I hid behind a tree, watching. He rang the doorbell, and Maeve partially opened the door. I couldn't see her, but heard her voice. Too quiet to understand. The door closed after a few seconds, and he knocked loudly. Maeve opened it on the security chain and said, I'm sorry, but it's off now. Please leave before I call the police. The door slammed, and I heard the deadbolt click. The guy stood there, realizing he had traveled far for nothing. What the hell? Hey, cow! He cut his rant short when the porch light next door came on. As the door opened, he spun and walked quickly to the sidewalk. Curious retirees saved me from being seen. I stayed hidden while old Virgil Leonard looked out and saw the man walking away. Once it was clear, I hurried down 3rd Street, resisting the urge to knock on my front door. Frank waited for me around the corner of Elm, and we headed back to Tompkins. In the supermarket parking lot, we heard tires squealing as someone sped away. Anger and driving don't mix, Frank said. Very dangerous, I agreed. Saturday morning, after a restless sleep in Frank's guest room, I reviewed the camera footage from the night before. Maeve had been restless too. With nothing new, I prepared photos of Maeve's encounters to send to my attorney. Should I include the video I took through the window? I asked Frank. Hell no, he replied. What you got from the other camera is enough. Let's not mention going into the house. Think that toy soldier freaked out? I asked. Sending the pictures? Frank grinned. Probably. Then he frowned. I hope he stops showing off before he meets a husband with an unlocked weapon. Thanks for ruining my mood. Let's send Kelly her alarm call. That should cheer you up. Turning on my phone, I saw a dozen messages and missed calls from Maeve. I called her. Hey babe, it's Matt. Sorry Frank scared you. I'm fine now. I'll stay as planned and see you Monday night. Love you. I hit send and the phone rang. It was Kelly. Hey Kelly, didn't expect to hear from you on a Saturday morning. Hey Matt, I saw your new package on the website. I covered the microphone and asked Frank, should I tell her? He nodded. Kelly, I'm putting you on speaker so Frank can explain why Maeve's night ended quietly. Good morning, Kelly, Frank said. Good morning, Frank. What have you been up to? Did I influence you badly with my barbs to Tracy? Frank explained the prank call in text messages, but left out sneaking behind the house or confronting the soldier. I like that, she said when he finished. Are you sure she's canceled the other dates? Wait, she just responded to my last text, I said. Screw the deer. Come home. I need you. I love you. Please come home now. Told you, Frank said. Told him what? Kelly asked. That she really loves him despite all this. Kelly, have you encountered nymphomaniacs in your practice? People with serious mental disorders? She paused. I've had clients and spouses with mental health issues. It's possible. And I'm supposed to accept that? Forgive her if she claims it wasn't her fault. Kelly, you've seen the pictures. How do I stop seeing them whenever I look at her? I don't think you can, Kelly said. If she is diagnosed with a disorder, it will affect the divorce terms. But no judge will deny you a divorce after she planned all this. This conversation forced me to make a decision. Kelly, how quickly can you file the papers? I can't live with her anymore. I understand, she said. I'll have some options ready for us to discuss on Monday. We'll likely need to meet with her and her lawyer before deciding. Okay, but what do I tell her Monday night when I don't come home? You won't tell her anything. I'll handle that. So what should I do now? I asked. I've reviewed your actions and you seem to have it covered. Anything more might backfire. So sit tight, be patient, and don't do anything rash. Frank grinned and said, I'm doing my best to keep him from that, but he keeps trying. By the way, Matt, didn't you say you were still good for 10K? Frank and I froze, wondering if Kelly was referring to my stamina. Yeah, I think I said something like that, I replied cautiously. Good, run along then. Bye, boys. She hung up. Maeve called again and I turned off my phone. Following Kelly's advice, I went to buy new running gear, as I hadn't brought any on the hunt. Frank joined me for a run, but we stopped at 3 miles beyond his comfort zone. I still felt restless, so Frank suggested another way to vent. We put the rifles back in his truck and headed to a shooting range, an hour away, to practice. I shot much more than Frank, so he finished cleaning his rifle first and talked to the rangemaster. They glanced at me a few times. What did he say? I asked Frank on the way back. He asked if I could keep you from shooting anything but paper targets. I said I could. Frank moved my rifle to his weapons safe as soon as we returned to his apartment. The weekend was torturous, with Frank keeping me occupied. We watched Marvel movies, and he limited my whiskey, making sure I had non-alcoholic drinks in between. He managed my correspondence with Maeve, telling her I was doing well and still hunting. On Sunday, he texted her that I planned to spend the day in a tree stand. She's starting to call you an idiot for not coming home, Frank laughed. Wait until she gets served with divorce papers, I replied. A part of me enjoyed the payback, but mostly I was miserable. I loved Maeve and thought she loved me too. Maybe she had a mental breakdown. I wondered if I'd need therapy too. After a 4th sleepless night, I woke up Monday exhausted but resolute about the divorce. Maeve had planned too much and enjoyed it too much. We texted her that we were leaving again that morning and wouldn't be back until late. I apologized for scaring her on Friday and assured her I was fine. We did this from the supermarket parking lot near our house. Her response was quick. You let me suffer all weekend and still can't give up that deer to come back early. Maybe you should just go to Frank's place because I don't want to see you right away. I had to smile at the irony of her suggesting what I had been planning all along. 15 minutes later, I saw her car heading down 3rd Street and turning right onto Tompkins, her usual route to work. I parked in the alley behind our house, not trying to be completely undercover, but avoiding the front to prevent any neighborly curiosity. Once the coast was clear, I climbed the fence and entered through the back door. I retrieved my camera from the living room and my new cell phone from the bedroom. Then I grabbed a suitcase from the second bedroom, which served as a pantry and closet, but was supposed to be a nursery someday. That plan was now shattered, and my heart ached even more. I filled the suitcase with more clothes, gold coins from the safe, and my laptop. I figured she would hear the bad news from Kelly before realizing I had been in the house. Back at Frank's, I pulled the SD card from the camera and plugged it into the computer. Exhausted, I brushed my teeth and collapsed fully dressed onto the bed until Frank called to tell me the videotaping was over. In the living room, Frank was making breakfast sandwiches in the microwave, and coffee was brewing. "Ah, the bachelor life. Check out the rest of the camera footage," he said. "It'll make you feel better." My laptop was on the coffee table with a shot of whiskey next to it. 9 o'clock on a Monday morning, and I was already embracing the life of a divorced man. Why not? I downed the shot and braced myself to watch the footage. Frank was right. The video from Friday night to Monday morning was more entertaining and informative than expected. After the soldier left, we saw snippets of Maeve pacing the house, phone in hand, talking or texting, trying to check on me. This continued all night, Saturday and Sunday. She looked increasingly irritated as I brushed off her concerns in favor of hunting. I noticed how Maeve cleaned up, putting back items in the living room that had been missing, mostly pictures of me. Frank sat next to me, eating sausage biscuits and drinking black coffee. "Damn," I said. "She really erased me, didn't she? That guard wasn't lying when he said Maeve filed for divorce." "Wait, go back," Frank said. "Go back to the end of Friday." "What did you see?" I asked, rewinding to an earlier clip. "Look at her hands," he said. Maeve was pacing the living room, texting with both hands. "What?" Then I realized. Oh, no rings. I skipped ahead to around 10:30 Saturday morning. Here they are. She played the role of divorcee to the last. Kelly DeWitt, my attorney, greeted me when I arrived at her office. She was tall, in a well-tailored suit with striking features. I focused on her dark amber eyes as she assessed me. 6 feet, 180 long-distance runner with some muscle. "I guess I can believe the rest of your self-description," she said. Thankfully, she phrased it as a statement. "Have a seat, Matt. I'm sure it's been a rough weekend. How are you?" Kelly asked. "It's been hard. Anything new from Maeve?" I had sent her some of Maeve's messages, including the one asking me not to come home. "This just came in while I was parking." I handed her my phone. "Baby, please ignore my last message. Yes, I'm mad, but I need you home. I'm dying here without you. Please, Maddie," Kelly read aloud. "Okay," Kelly said. "It doesn't seem like your wife did this to get rid of you. I have a feeling once she knows you found out, she won't try it again." "I can't pretend this didn't happen," I said. "No, of course not, but if she explains and promises it won't happen again, could you forgive her?" Kelly asked. Kelly raised her hand to stop my angry response. "I have to ask about reconciliation, Matt. The judge will insist, and I get the feeling you still love her," she continued. "I do, but I don't see how I can. You saw pictures and clips, but you didn't sit through it all," I said. Kelly didn't need to ask what I meant. She simply said, "I understand, but as a family lawyer, I have to see if the family can be saved. Maeve will likely fight to keep you two together. But no, she can't force you into marriage counseling. I'm sure not in this case. Okay, tell me your plan, and let's work out the property and financial details if you want to file quickly," I said. "Since this is for infidelity, do I still have to give her half of everything and pay alimony since my income is double hers?" I asked. Kelly spent the morning answering these questions and more. By 1 p.m., with deli sandwiches delivered, she had sketched out a plan to minimize the damage to my finances and position. It was time to pull the trigger, and I nodded to Kelly. She put my phone on speaker and called Maeve. The call was answered before the first ring ended. "Maddie, where are you? Are you coming home? Are you okay? What the hell are you playing at, idiot? Oh God, baby, I need you. Where are you?" Maeve said frantically. "Mrs. Karras! Mrs. Karras!" Kelly almost yelled to stop Maeve's rant. "What? Who is that? Oh my God!" she screamed. "Where's Matt? What happened to Matt?" "Mrs. Karras," my lawyer said louder. Using my phone to call Maeve wasn't the best plan, but we feared she'd ignore any other call. "Mr. Karras, Matthias is fine. He wasn't hurt at all. He's fine," Kelly assured her. "But Frank said, 'Who are you, and why are you calling on Matt's phone?'" Maeve asked, confused. "Mr. Karras gave me his phone to ensure you'd answer." I assure you he's fine. Mr. Spinner's reports were a hoax. I apologize for the fear they caused, Kelly explained. Kelly stuck her tongue out at me. A prank? What's going on? Who are you, and why are you calling my cell phone, Matt? Maeve demanded. Mrs. Karras, I'm using Mr. Karras's phone with his permission, and this call is being recorded. Do you mind? Kelly said as Maeve's voice trailed off, still angry and puzzled. Why is it being recorded? Who are you? Maeve asked. My name is Kelly DeWitt, an attorney with Green Family Law in Springville. Your husband, Matthias Karras, has hired me to represent him in the dissolution of your marriage, Kelly stated. The dissolution? Maeve repeated, stunned. Yes, Mr. Karras wants the dissolution to be quick and private, Kelly confirmed. A sordid affair? I imagined Maeve stunned, able only to repeat Kelly's words. Yes, Mrs. Karras. Normally we'd serve you with divorce papers, but Mr. Karras hopes to reach an agreement outside of court. Please contact your attorney as soon as possible, Kelly instructed. Attorney? Maeve echoed. Yes. Do you have a pen and paper? I'll give you my contact information, Kelly offered. No, I don't, Maeve replied. I'll send you a message with my contact information. After that, the phone will stop working, and you won't be able to contact Mr. Karras through it, Kelly explained. But I need to talk to Matt. This is all wrong. We love each other. Is he there? I need to talk to him, Maeve pleaded. I'm sorry, Mrs. Karras, but Mr. Karras isn't ready to talk. Have your lawyer contact me. Goodbye, Kelly said firmly. Kelly hung up as Maeve began to speak. That went well, Kelly said, sending a text with her office information to Maeve's phone before disconnecting it. Her words were sarcastic but sounded sad. Are you okay? I asked, feeling the odd role reversal. I like protecting spouses from misuse, but cases like this make me sad and tired. There's something strange going on here, Matt. I think you're doing the right thing, but I don't sense vindictiveness from your wife. For whatever reason, maybe an uncontrollable dependence, she's blown up her life. And neither of you will be happy. Screw me, I'm not even 30. Have I already seen the last happy day of my life? Kelly shook her head vigorously. No, it sucks now, but it's not the end. We'll connect you with a therapist. If you take counseling seriously, you'll recover faster. Frank waited too long for counseling, and it cost him unnecessary pain. Don't make the same mistake. Yeah, it cost me, Frank confirmed a few hours later, as we ate chicken wings, shrimp, and Bloody Marys at a downtown sports bar. I thought therapy was just psychological nonsense, but I ended up wallowing in my own mess like a clogged toilet. You talked to me for a while, and you could have talked more, I said, trying to ignore his metaphor. I know you had my back, but seeing you and Maeve so happy hurt more than it helped, at least until I got outside counseling. But why? I asked. Because you and Maeve seemed perfect, and it made me grieve for what I'd lost. Realizing I'd been living a lie for so long hurt even more. I sipped my drink, unsure of what to say. After seeing Kelly's therapist, I could finally see you two as a sign of hope, instead of a reminder of my past. And now it's all turned out to be another lie, I said. Screw me, he muttered. Screw me, I repeated, raising my glass for a toast. We clinked quietly and drank deeply. Hey, Matt, have a seat, Kelly DeWitt said, this time in a small conference room with papers spread out on a table. It was Tuesday afternoon, and I had taken the day off after updating my work information on Monday. I spent most of the day at Frank's, searching for a new apartment since I couldn't live in my ruined house. I ran 5 miles in the morning and another 3 before meeting Kelly, hoping the endorphins would help me stay calm. Kelly had talked to Maeve that morning, and she said I needed to hear what Maeve had to say in person. When the receptionist led me to the conference room, I half expected to see Maeve and her lawyer waiting. Kelly laughed lightly, waving me into the empty room. No, just us. We needed space to work. As I sat down, she added, Maeve wanted to be here to explain, but if this were a TV show, it would be a classic showdown. Glad it's not television, I said. Kelly gave me a wicked grin. As I thought about our meeting the day before, I realized I was glad she wasn't like Maeve at all. I think you'll be surprised, Kelly said, but it would be better if you heard it from Maeve. Stop escalating the situation, I said. Hear what? That she did it all for you, Kelly replied. I'm sure she got more than she expected, I said, shocked. What the hell? I barely stopped the profanity. The smirk disappeared from Kelly's face, and she placed her hand on mine as they clenched into fists on the table. She claimed I was some kind of willing, betrayed man, I added. My voice rose, and I started to stand, but Kelly grabbed my wrist. No. Oh, God, Matt, no, I'm sorry. I didn't think you'd take it that way. I'm really sorry, Kelly said, trying to calm me. I relaxed slightly and stared at her. Maeve didn't say that. She's very upset that you've found out and left her. Left her? I hadn't thought of it that way, but yes, I admitted. Then what did you mean by, she did it all for me? I asked. The baby, Kelly said quietly. It hit me. We'd been trying to have a baby for 11 months. She found someone like me to get her pregnant since I hadn't succeeded yet. She wanted a baby desperately, and I hadn't realized she was willing to go to such extreme measures. She was doing this to get pregnant? I asked, seeking confirmation. Yes, Kelly replied, pushing some pages toward me. It was a lab report from 3 months ago, ordered by Maeve's gynecologist. It took me a moment to realize that Dr. Wellborn had provided 2 samples from patient 25473, both with low counts. Am I patient 25473? I asked. Kelly nodded. But how did she get the samples? I asked, seeing Kelly's embarrassment for the first time. She secretly took samples for analysis when you couldn't get her pregnant after 6 months, Kelly explained. Instead of talking to me, she found guys who looked like me and accepted their donations the old-fashioned way, Kelly continued. She said your insurance didn't cover art, which is expensive, and you'd already used your savings to buy the house. I leaned forward, my forehead on the desk. That means I won't have to pay child support if her plan works, right? Kelly looked even sadder. You'll still need to get tested since you're low, but not zero. Why not? What's wrong? I asked. Maeve realized she was exposed and you're threatening divorce, so she went to her OBGYN for the morning after pill, Kelly said. But today isn't the morning after. She was with her first guy Thursday night, I said, confused. Dr. Wellborn confirmed it. Maeve asked her to call me, Kelly explained. Maeve had gone to extreme lengths to conceive, but now, knowing I wouldn't raise someone else's child, she was erasing the mistake. It was all so sad. Then I realized another detail. She did this just before my hunting trip. She was preparing to get pregnant and would have been with me on Monday to reinforce the idea. God knows what diseases she picked up, I said. Kelly held my hand reassuringly. STDs are a concern, but Maeve was thinking about that too when she made the appointment. Matt, after our meeting yesterday, I reviewed the security footage and noticed something strange at the beginning of her visits. She'd often look at the smartphones of her visitors. She did this a month ago too, Kelly said. Oh crap, I muttered. What? Kelly asked. She did it a month ago too. I still have to take the test, I said. Uh-huh. She admitted it was the first and only time. When that didn't work, she tried again during your hunting trip. She planned to return to Fidelity afterward, Kelly explained. I thought we agreed we wanted at least 2 or 3 children, I said, shaking off the heartbreaking thoughts. Did you say something about the camera footage and STDs? Yes. Did you notice how she often checked her visitors' smartphones shortly after they arrived? Kelly asked. Yes, I figured she was checking their invites, I replied. She was checking their current STI and HIV test results, Kelly clarified. Disbelief showed on my face. They get tested regularly? Yeah, they do, Kelly continued. So what? I asked Frank later over pizza and beer. Do you get tested regularly and carry the results? Actually, yes, I do. I always use protection and I carry the labs with me. If I start dating again, I'll probably have to do that nonsense too, Frank said. When you start dating again, he emphasized. But yeah, I'd recommend it. Man, I gotta say, he continued, I'm surprised Maeve's lawyer let her spill so many details early in the negotiations. She doesn't have a lawyer yet. Kelly found her outside her office this morning and insisted on talking. Kelly advised her to get a lawyer, but Maeve was convinced that once I knew the truth, I'd call off the divorce. And how did that work out? He asked Riley. Kelly said Maeve believed her plan made so much sense that I would come home tonight. Frank handed me another beer as we sat in his apartment. I planned to stay there until deciding if I could live in the same town as Maeve, let alone the same house. A week and a half later, I was back in the conference room at Green Family Law. Kelly and I sat on one side, Maeve and her attorney on the other. Mr. Karras, Miss DeWitt, said the balding lawyer, we have 2 problems. First, Mrs. Karras wants to stay married. Second, if reconciliation is impossible, the proposed agreement is insufficient. It suggests a 50-50th division of property, but doesn't include all marital assets, and the proposed spousal support is too low and short-lived. Kelly tapped my foot under the table, signaling, I told you so. I acknowledged it faintly. Mr. Philpott, Kelly interjected, Mr. Karras has agreed to pay 60% of your fees as part of the assets. This shows remarkable fairness for a man who has been wronged. The judge will take note of this if we can't resolve these issues here. I wanted the case over with and for Maeve to be treated fairly, not to get half of everything but to avoid living in a disadvantaged area or moving in with her parents. She refused to get a lawyer thinking we shouldn't divorce. With her salary, she could only afford a subpar lawyer. So I asked Kelly to find someone decent for her. And, Kelly continued, what about my client's quality of life? You've seen the evidence, Mr. Philpott. Imagine what he goes through every night with those images in his head. It was dramatic, but Kelly wasn't exaggerating. I struggled with therapy, although Kelly and Frank assured me it would help. Ironically, the psychiatrist's consultation was covered by my health plan, unlike Art, which could have prevented all this. I'm so sorry, Maddie, so sorry, Maeve sobbed. Philpott squeezed her hand again. Miss DeWitt, Philpott said, while I sympathize with Mr. Karras, our state's laws don't consider these matters in dividing marital property or awarding spousal support. Mr. Philpott, Kelly snapped, if your client doesn't agree to the negotiated offer, we won't file it. If we go to court, she placed her hand on a thicker pile of papers. This petition will be filed on the grounds of your client's infidelity. The settlement terms here are much less generous. I saw his hand tremble as he wanted to open the package, but held back. Okay, I'd gotten Maeve fair representation. While making this case public would embarrass Mr. Karras, it would be even worse for Mrs. Karras, especially since we will subpoena the names of all participants in her affairs and conduct a paternity test on the child she tried to conceive with them. Maeve gasped, then made a sound of deep sadness. Okay, stop it, shouted an indignant Philpott. There's no need to be so rude, Miss DeWitt. Mrs. Karras took measures to avoid conception despite wanting a child with Mr. Karras, a desire he shared. My baby, our baby, I whispered. Kelly placed her hand on mine and pressed her foot against mine. But it would be ours, Maeve exclaimed. It would be ours, yours and mine. The lawyers agreed to a short break. Kelly took me to her office while Philpott led Maeve outside. As we reconvened, Philpott continued. Mrs. Karras took drastic measures forced by her husband's stubbornness to prevent conception, even though it could have been Mr. Karras's child. Kelly stood firmly, sensing my anger. Her next words were softer, directed at Maeve. We understand Mrs. Karras made a difficult decision and did the right thing under the circumstances. Mr. Karras and I recognize the pain she must be feeling. Kelly then turned back to Philpott. Unfortunately, it hasn't been determined if your client's intervention was successful. She may still be pregnant. We need to address this threat at the root. I glanced at Maeve, who looked pale, fearing she might faint. Kelly continued. The agreement states any such child would not belong to my client. Mr. Karras will take a paternity test to confirm this. If we go to court, we will demand the same from any potential fathers. Kelly wanted to add, if she decides to carry the baby, but I vetoed that. There was enough tension already. Maeve pressed her lawyer's hand. They had discussed their next steps. All that aside, Philpott said, we'd like to return to Mrs. Karras's first position, not to file for divorce. Instead, she and her husband should go to counseling and find a solution to start a family. Why couldn't she have done this from the beginning? I almost howled. Why not just tell me instead of cheating? Mr. Karras? Matt. Voices overlapped before I slammed my fist on the table. I stared at the surface and said through clenched teeth, I'm already in counseling. My therapist says the why question is like a funnel. I can't heal until it fills up. He suggested I ask Maeve to join a session, but now I need to know why you brought strangers into our bed instead of telling me about the problem. My client didn't, Philpott began, but Maeve interrupted. I didn't want to hurt you by telling you that you couldn't give me a baby. You're so into your physicality, and I didn't want you to think you weren't enough, insisted Maeve. Oh my God, am I really such an idiot? I asked, wondering if I'd missed a character flaw. No, she repeated. I said it wrong. She took a breath. If we could afford IVF, I'd have told you, but we couldn't. We wanted to start a family now. So it was about the donor, not breaking out of the monotony of marriage. Exactly, Maeve exclaimed. Why would I ever want to run away? So you didn't enjoy it? She flinched, but continued. Don't you see? Yes, I called them folders on my page, but they were really all you. Any memories were connected to you, like in those multiverse comic book movies you love. I could add the memories of doing it with you, younger or older, to the wonderful memories I have of doing it with you now. And when you thought back to those encounters, feeding the child one of those alternate selves had put inside you, you always thought of your real self, right? She grimaced at my words, but continued. Yes, always about you. I turned to look at Attorney DeWitt, who raised her eyebrows in question. I nodded silently. She reached for the other folder, circled in red, the nuclear option. As I spoke, Kelly slowly pulled out a series of photos and placed them in front of Maeve and her lawyer. The 8x10 color photos were from the front and back cameras in the house, as well as a video I had taken Friday night while spying. Maeve's face turned from gray to green, and she barely made it to the trash can before throwing up. Our house on 3rd Street sold quickly. Despite owning it for less than 2 years, it had appreciated enough to pay off the mortgage and cover moving expenses. I moved from Frank's apartment to a work-friendly condo, and Maeve moved back to her hometown, though she managed to get a small apartment instead of moving into her childhood bedroom. She wasn't pregnant, and she found a decent job that allowed her a reasonable lifestyle. While the child support I paid for 5 months wasn't a huge strain, I was glad she wouldn't be destitute when it stopped after the 6th month. She brought this misfortune on both of us, and her betrayal still haunted me. She was the love of my life, and I knew her remorse and regrets were genuine. Her last letter said she still hoped for reconciliation, but that seemed unlikely. Therapy helped me dump anger and despair, and I no longer saw myself as a huge loser facing decades of dull monotony. As for Tracy, she ended up as a barista at a Starbucks, blaming Frank for her troubles, though there was no evidence to support it. The police cleared him, with witnesses and surveillance footage proving he was at a Foo Fighters concert that night. Looking ahead, once I pay the last amount of spousal support, I'll have fulfilled all my obligations from the divorce, and Kelly DeWitt will no longer be my attorney. When she found out I attended an art exhibit and enjoyed it, she said she wished our first date had been at the gallery too.